Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Sportslook, the sports television program for the high plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and because, just like a labor union, we have a very strict seniority policy here at Sportslook, we're going to bring in two seniors from the Greyhound baseball squad, Jack Thompson and Will McIntyre. We're going to bring in the most senior member of the Sports Information Department, Jose Montoya. As a senior citizen, I'll give you a broad sweep over time, but as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. Greyhound softball went into last weekend needing to win one game against Texas A&M Kingsville to go to the Lone Star Conference postseason tournament for the first time since 2001. They got that one on Friday. Greyhound baseball needed to win one game against Lubbock Christian last weekend to go to the Lone Star Conference postseason tournament for only the fifth time in school history. They got that one on Saturday. Greyhound track and field, they'll be competing in the Lone Star Conference championships this weekend. Well, that has been your Eastern recap, so we'll clear the set and we'll bring in our first guests, Jack Thompson and Will McBride, right now. Welcome back to Sportslook, and we're privileged to bring to the set of Sportslook two seniors from the Greyhound baseball squad. We've got Jack Thompson and Will McBride. And guys, welcome to Sportslook.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Glad to be here.
Well, Jack, we'll start out with you. Where are you from, and what was the process that got you onto the squad at Eastern?
Oh, man. Yeah, so I'm initially from West Des Moines, Iowa. I ended up going to junior college, played my first 2 years of collegiate baseball up at Iowa Central. And so, you know, I was playing there. I didn't get a lot of playing time my first year. Second year was a little shaky, and then I finally got my opportunity to start playing. You know, and I took advantage of that and played pretty well. And then, however, COVID happened right then and there. And so my season got cut really short. So it was a matter of where do I go without these amount of stats, without playing games, without coach being able to see me. You know, so it was a difficult process, right? So a lot of it was done through, you know, social media. There's some apps that help with that. But anyway, I got in contact with Coach Price, just kind of was looking around everywhere, just trying to find a good place, a good fit for me. And, you know, he responded. We actually ended up having a mutual coach. My assistant coach at Iowa Central played with him at Southern Arkansas, Coach Astor. And so that was kind of like a leeway into this. And I ended up blind committing. I didn't even come on a visit, anything like that. He gave me a little bit of a deadline, said, you know, there's some other catchers that are offered right now. You want it, it's yours. And so I ended up taking it, and I'm so thankful that he gave me the opportunity to come down here and, you know, finish out my degree out here.
And Will, we'll ask you the same question. Where are you from, and what was the process that got you here?
Sure. Originally from Fort Worth, Texas, moved to a small town called Palestine, Texas in high school. I went to, similar to Jack, I went to a junior college, Luna Community College up in Las Vegas, New Mexico. Same kind of deal. I was actually a catcher like Jack, then eventually became a pitcher, and then that's when I started getting opportunities to go play at the next level at university baseball. So, you know, I had some offers. I decided to go with Eastern because, you know, I wanted to make a difference somewhere, and I think we've done that here. But yeah, that's kind of a similar process. Went through the COVID and everything, and you know, it was a tough time for Eastern there for a while, not having to practice and everything, but I think we did a good job kind of turning this program around and headed in the right direction now.
Well, I have to ask you, was T.C. Nusser still the head coach at Luna, or had he moved to the University of the Southwest?
No, yes, sir. He was the head coach at Luna Community College, along with Harry Eastep. Now he's the head coach there.
And a small world, because TC's dad was my older son Cam's baseball coach at Portales High School,
Really?
and TC was a high school teammate of my younger son Brian.
Oh, wow.
So I've got a connection
There you go.
vicariously with you, but Jack and I also have a connection because he's an Iowan. And so it's
There
nice
it
having
is.
somebody that I can talk about the butter cow strike sculpture
It's
at the
important,
Iowa
man.
State Fair and things like that.
Absolutely.
Well, Jack, in addition to being a standout baseball player, you are also involved in student activities. From what I understand, you're the president of the Student Athletic Advisory Council.
Yes, sir. I'm currently co-president right now, along with Mackenzie Shaw. She's on the softball team. But yeah, so, you know, SAC is Student Athletic Advisory Committee. You know, we do a lot of things for the students around campus. We actually have a gala going on in about I think it's about 45 minutes where we host kind of like an ESPYs version for our school. And so it's a good opportunity to recognize the best of the best here at the university. And so, it's been another thing on my plate, but, there's just, you got to make sure that you spread things out evenly and make sure that you're doing everything the best you can. So it's been awesome to do it though. And it's been a good responsibility for me, I think.
And we'll talk about you. What sort of engagement? I mean, for some people, it's just sports is enough. That's a full-time occupation in addition to classes. But what interaction have you had with student life here?
Yeah, FCA is a huge part of mine. Fellowship of Christian Athletes, for those who don't know what that stands for. Got that started with a guy named Aaron Boydstein, along with Philip, the pastor at First Baptist here in town, and Jack got it started too with us, and we kind of got it rolling a little bit, and first got it started, let's see, it was first year we were here in 2020. No, I think it was 2021 because of COVID, obviously. Kind of got that rolling, and been kind of taking it over ever since, so that was a big passion of mine, and yeah, FCA is kind of my main focus here in the student body.
Excellent. Well, Jack, you alluded to the fact that you guys have done something pretty special here, and you established a record last year for most wins by a baseball team in the Lone Star Conference. You surpassed it this year, and to make it even better, you are in the Lone Star Conference postseason. What has allowed the rapid turnaround under Coach Price?
Man, that just gave me chills even just hearing that right there. Yeah, I mean, so it's been a long process, coming from my first year, which was an 8-win season. There were countless games where we were just getting beat down. And, what allowed us to really turn that around, you can talk about talent, you can talk about other things, but it's about the culture at the end of the day. And so we, as seniors especially, there's 13 of us, we all were able to kind of help turn this culture around and give us more of a winning mentality. We brought in guys from winning cultures, guys that were super talented but weren't from winning cultures, to bring that culture to them. And so when I look at it, at the end of the day, I believe the culture is the one thing that did, help us turn it around and go, and just honestly just go, right? And so now we're in this position where we're in playoffs now, and anything can happen. And our guys have belief in us, and coaches have belief in us, and we think that we can beat anybody right now. And so, looking forward, it's a pretty good opportunity to go into number 2 team in the entire country, and see what we can do. Why not? It's playoffs.
Absolutely. We'll talk a little bit about Coach Price. We could be here the rest of the evening talking about Coach Price, but you had to sum up what makes him a successful coach. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, to battle the adversity that he went through those first 2 years he was here, having an 8-win season, I think it was 6 wins before that. It's tough going through the COVID-19 pandemic and everything. It was hard to recruit, hard to get guys here.
And he lost his dad during that time period.
Absolutely, yeah. He lost his dad. Just absolute battle for him. And to still continue to have winning teams throughout the years that he's had, just remarkable. So I would say just battling that adversity and going for it and getting the guys that we have here now. It's not easy to recruit in Portales, New Mexico, especially when we're going up competition from Austin, Texas, San Antonio, Texas, Oklahoma City. And, to get people to come to the desert in Portales, New Mexico, it's not an easy thing to do. So getting guys here would be, my biggest point out for him was...
Well, Jack, there are many games we could point to, but if I had to narrow you down and say one game to you is the game so far during the regular season, obviously postseason completely different, but if you had to look at the regular season, what's the one game that you'll always remember?
From this season alone? Oh, man, it's almost impossible not to say that game against Oklahoma Christian, 22-20 or something like that. Sure, the wind was blowing, but, it was just home run after home run after home run. And, we'd go down by 4 runs and then be up by 4 runs, and then go down by 2 and then up by 6. And, that was just that was a part of that sweep weekend, which is the first one under Coach Price's era. So that was pretty special for us as well. It put us in a really good position for playoffs down the stretch. We had, I believe, 3 weeks left after that. And it set us up really, really nicely for a playoff run. So I think when I look back at the season, it's hard to look at that game and, not be the most memorable. So that one was pretty sweet.
Will, I would imagine you'd probably have the same answer, so I'll ask you second most memorable game.
Second most memorable game. That's a good question. I think, you always kind of look back at the games you scored the most runs in, and I think this one was a loss, but at WT, I think the final score was 16 to 22 or something like that, and it was just, hit after hit after hit, wind blowing out, home run after home run, and it was just a dogfight the whole time. I think you remember those the most. Even the games I pitch in, they all kind of blend together at the end of the day.
Well, you guys played your last regular season game in Portales, New Mexico last Sunday. And Jack, your final at bat regular season, you get an RBI. Will, you come in relief and you have 2 scoreless innings. So I think both of you guys definitely would walk away thinking, if that was my last game, that was a pretty good last game.
Yeah, I mean, there's no complaints with that. That was a pretty awesome weekend too. Some results maybe we would have liked to flip those, but at the end of the day, that's not what it's all about. And it was a good thing for us to have a bunch of family, friends, and just a lot of support there for us on senior weekend. So I think going out the way we did, I mean, it felt nice doing that.
Yeah, and it was nice, seeing the seniors, not always getting opportunities, but had a chance to come into the game, and it was fun pitching with those guys out there, with guys you don't usually get a chance to share the field with that much, and it was a good time pitching with them out there with me.
Speaking of which, Will, I've got to ask you a question. At what point in your career did you become a sidearm pitcher?
That's a good question. So I actually had a minor tear in my rotator cuff, and made the decision. It was either low 80s, mid 80s over the top, and or it was make a difference. And that was actually Coach Price's idea to drop down, and I started from the side, and I think the first weekend I struck out like 5 of my teammates, and I was like, well, this seems to be working. And so it was all history from there, and that's when I kind of really became an effective pitcher.
You certainly did. Jack, we've got about a minute left, but in that minute, you guys are student athletes, and what's in the future for Jack Thompson?
Yeah, so after this, I'm looking to move to the Kansas City area if possible. Me and my girlfriend, we're trying to move in and then get into a medical sales job with that. So I'm finishing up with my biology degree and then just kind of run with that and see where it takes me.
So heading back to the Midwest, but not all the way up I-35
I do like
to
the
Des
warm,
Moines.
so I'm going to try to stay a little bit further south than that. Yep.
You and me both.
Yep.
And Will, what's in your future?
Yeah, I've kind of looked into the business world, and recently I kind of decided it wasn't for me, and I want to stick with baseball. So I'm looking for possible GA opportunities right now to take my talents there and help out some other teams.
Well, guys, it's been a pleasure. I've had the privilege of broadcasting most of your games, either on the radio or from Lone Star Conference, and a real thrill for me when I was asked to do the PA for Senior Day, and I actually got to introduce you guys. So congratulations on the careers that you had. Best of luck in the postseason, and best of luck down the line in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up our first interview segment, so we'll clear the set, and we'll bring in Jose Montoya right now. Welcome back to Sportslook, and a privilege to bring back to the set of Sportslook our most excellent sports information director, Jose Montoya. Jose, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me back.
Jose, it doesn't seem possible, but the regular season for virtually all of the sports is over, with the exception of track and field that has their conference championships this weekend. And is it just me, or was it a blur for you as well?
Quite wild to think that just a couple days ago it was September 1st and we were kicking off football in good old Las Vegas, New Mexico, and now we sit here and there's no home events left. Everything's away from Portales, and we get to watch our student athletes excel in postseason play.
So, Jose, going all the way back to September 1st, 2022, and looking at the sports year that was to come, what team did you think would be successful, that was successful? What team was the most pleasant surprise?
Right, yeah, we had a couple programs in particular that did really well this year and that surprised me and made really notable notes for myself. And one of them was the men's soccer program reestablished this year. And they had several key wins with, frankly, a team built with a lot of freshmen, freshmen who hadn't played together, and they had 1 or 2 weeks to really get things going. And they really did, and they did it well. They even beat number 8 Midwestern State. And then you had a men's basketball team that advanced to postseason play and got to play in Frisco. That team had a lot of surprising wins, and they really meshed well together, and that coaching staff did a really good job. But I also don't want to leave behind the people who you had on the last half part of the show, the baseball program and then also the softball program, both making postseason play. Absolutely incredible. That's the first time in school history that both baseball and softball are in the postseason in the same season.
Yeah, I mean, I would have a tough time answering that question because there were highlights everywhere. And I look at like volleyball. I remember I showed up to broadcast our football game against Angelo State. And I talked to you and I said, well, how did the volleyball go? Because it had taken place earlier, and said, that was a sweep. And I thought, well, Angelo's pretty good, and they're, no disgrace getting swept. No, we swept Angelo at Angelo.
Yeah, and that was the first win in as many years as well in San Angelo. That was a really cool experience to say, on my first day ever in San Angelo, I got to watch NMU volleyball sweep Angelo State and then watch NMU football battle and take a lead against the number 3 team in the country.
And of course, speaking of football, Greyhounds won 2 games in the Lone Star Conference, but one of them was epic and will live for a long, long time because we've got the wagon wheel back in Portales.
Absolutely. An important piece of hardware is back in Portales, right where it belongs, and that's the wagon wheel. And that is a night I'll definitely remember. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there, but I had some incredible sports information student staff there to be able to cover that. And so we have good archival history thanks to them. But being able to watch that game and be able to be a part of that group that tweeted out information and really shared it with the public was really cool, especially that whole week where we're just trying to build different content. And especially that night, we had 500 plus likes on tweets, Facebook posts, and whatnot. And that's something you don't see on really any other page.
And Jose, back in the day when I first started broadcasting sports, it was pretty much just an SID because you passed on news to print media, you passed on news to me. Now it's a whole new ballgame. You've got a lot more people working for you.
Of course, and the sports information position is ever changing. There's not really one thing that all of us can really accomplish. We all have to pick and choose our different things that we need to really focus on. And here at Eastern New Mexico, we've done a really good job at establishing that content creation and really building out how we share information to folks. And also, we couldn't do our jobs without amazing people like Doc Elder.
Jose, you're too kind, but it was cool. The Greyhound Club did a first annual, and I don't know if you can actually say first annual because there might not be a second one, but what we'd like to think is the first annual such banquet. And Sports Information gave out 2 awards. One was to a student worker, but one was to a person from the community. And there were so many people you could have chosen from the community, but Jeremy Berry, really good selection.
Yeah, for people who don't know or who may not have ever gone to an Eastern New Mexico sporting event, we have one particular member of our community who worked really, really, really well for us in terms of sports information. That's Jeremy Berry. Jeremy Berry teaches within the Portales School District, and he attends all of our basketball, or as many basketball games as he can, football games. And in the winter, when we were in a very tough bind of, look, we have about 10 games between Thanksgiving and middle January, we need help. He didn't flinch. He was right there to help. So I wanted to recognize him for his accomplishments and just his generosity to our athletic department. And then the student who got the award is James Romero, and he played on the baseball team at Eastern New Mexico. But he also came in at a tough point where we needed student volunteers for soccer games, for volleyball games, whatever we needed, he was there. And he even got to replaced Doc Elder for a baseball broadcast this year, too.
And I'm surprised I ever got the job back because he was pretty good from what I understand. But in addition to the sports information director, which is you, we have an assistant. And talk a little bit about your assistant from Rhode Island.
Yes, Cameron Brennan excels in all facets. He's an incredible individual who's super smart, very technical in his skills, and I'm so lucky that I was able to jump into this role and have someone like him by my side. He's always willing to go above and beyond, and there's nothing we can't do, especially as that team together.
Let me ask you a question, and I don't believe I've ever asked this question. In terms of your relationship with the coaches who you're providing coverage for, how many of them just say, Jose, do whatever you feel like, and how many of them say, there's something I'd really like you to do and have kind of a specific request or two?
That's a great question. Every coach has their specific requests for sure, but I would say there's maybe one or two that are a little bit more free and open to what we're doing. But then when they have an idea, I tell them, come to me, tell me your idea, and let's execute that. So if they want to post a graphic on a signing day or an official offer or something like that, that comes through our office and we're able to post that. Maybe we talk about stats, right? Coaches always want to get that extra hit because I called it an error, or that extra rebound because it was just a tip and I saw his finger glance over that ball. That's a different one where we need video evidence. We need to be able to see that firsthand.
And it occurred to me as we were talking, we've talked about some notables, and I completely left out another program, women's soccer, Eric Belcher taking over a program that didn't have much success the previous year, and my gosh, we had a couple of really notable successes.
Yes, they did really well this year, especially going to Denton, Texas, and taking a win on the road is truly special. One of our assistant athletic directors, Liz, was able to make that trip and watch them accomplish that feat. And then also they got to finish out the season on a senior day with a big win over UT Tyler. And UT Tyler is a program that was seeking a bid to postseason at that time.
And we've got one sport, as we pointed out, that is still technically kind of regular season, maybe a little bit of postseason, track and field. And of course, we had an indoor component of track and field and had some pretty good success in that as well.
Right. This track and field program continues to amaze me. I've been gracious enough to be the sport administrator for both the cross country and track and field program. And Joshua Hart and Ray Putnam have done an excellent job with growing that program in just this 1 year as a staff together. Timothy Frederick is one of their top sprinters and one of the top sprinters we've seen in school history. He's a second-team All-American indoor-wise, and he's hit 3 different NCAA provisional marks in 3 different events, the 100-meter, 200-meter, and the 400-meter. And that's what he'll be running in this weekend at the conference championships.
And of course, back in the fall, we had 2 sports that occurs to me I have also managed to ignore, rodeo. And it's a shame that I did almost forget rodeo because they couldn't have started out the year much better.
I don't think you really could have. You hosted a rodeo with thousands of people, and Albert Flynn he's going to always impress us with what he pulls off, him and Charles Chambers. Anyways, the women's team took first place in the college days, and they had one of their members of the team, Shacey Marr, take top 15 in the breakaway overall in the Southwest region. That encompasses all 10 rodeos they compete in the year.
And last but not least, we had cross country. The men were a little bit down in numbers, but they had guys that went out, ran hard, did improvement as the season progressed, and had some pretty good performers for the ladies.
Right, yeah, nothing to be ashamed of at all. And having Marta Piscoa end up being a conference honoree is a really huge mark for Eastern New Mexico to be able to say, that we have excellence all around, and not just one sport, but throughout the whole athletic department.
Well, Jose, I'm not just saying it because you're nice enough to be my guest, but it has truly been a pleasure working with you. You're all that I could ask for from a sports information director. And so I look forward to many more fruitful, until they figure out somebody better can do my job. But until they do, I look forward to working with you.
Well, I appreciate everything, Doc. Thank you.
All right, well, that will wrap up the interview segment of Sportslook. So we'll clear this out, and I'll finish up with one last overtime right now. Well, we've spent most of this episode talking about the many good things that have happened for Greyhound athletics during the course of this year. We would not be doing our duty as journalists here at Sportslook if we didn't point out that there is currently a sports program that is involved in a legal controversy. But because we are journalists, we are not going to pass opinions. We are going to report facts. And when facts are reported, we will report them fairly and accurately moving forward. Well, that will wrap up an overtime, and that will wrap up not just an episode, but an entire season of Sportslook. I'd like to thank my guests from baseball. We had Jack Thompson and Will McIntyre. We had Jose Montoya, the sports information director. My floor crew director was Mr. Logan. So for all those aforementioned people, one last time, this is Doc Elder saying, so long.